Okay.
You! All right, how are you getting on?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Harbour Bar. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for joining us online if you're watching us online.
Oh, yeah, we're online. Yeah.
Because we're online. Hello, the internet.
We're live streaming. It's all
live
fancy. 2024 now, lads. Fucking yes.
Oh, yes.
You know, we're broadcasting out to...
Technology.
Yeah, it's great.
We're broadcasting out to probably about 3 people.
Exceptionally.
Our how we grow. Watching. Our mom is watching.
Our mom is watching.
Our first and most loyal fan.
Yeah, she's great. God bless her.
She's great. She's delighted.
You look particularly cozy over in this corner, fair play.
Yeah. Am I allowed to tell everyone about your 7:30 panic attack?
Every time. Like, fuck, no one's coming. Fuck,
no one's here. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck, it's fucked. Oh, God. Shit. Oh, I didn't post on Instagram enough. Oh, no.
And then you all rock in at 5 to 8. Like,
yeah. I tell him every time, you're not allowed to have a panic attack until 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Every time.
If it's 8 o'clock and there's nobody here, then you can have a fucking panic attack, all right? That's how panic attacks work. You put them on a fucking clock.
Time really helps that, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, if you do want to take some photos and take some Instagram things, that helps and reduce my anxiety because then people will come next time.
He's fierce tightly wound, folks. Help him out.
I'm not at all. We do have a big announcement, though. We
have a very big announcement.
And it's for the internet.
We have a few things to say first.
We do? What do
this
we have
is
to
my
say?
brother, Aaron.
Oh, this is my sister, Sorga.
We're Candlelit Tales and we tell stories, and we're going to tell stories in a minute.
And these are the fabulous musicians that are going to play with us tonight, which is very exciting.
Woo!
Give them a round.
You!
We got Roy, Shay, Alan Holman, and Colin Farrell. Every time.
Aaron keeps forgetting Colin Farrell's name. He's played with us for how many years now?
It's just because I'm like, it can't be really Colin Farrell, though. It is, though. It is.
I
It's
don't
Colin
know.
Farrell.
It is.
It's the real Colin Farrell.
Yep.
Yes, so our big announcement is that a lady came to one of our shows back in November and she asked us to come over to her country and play with us.
Yeah.
And play with them.
And we said what we've said. Yeah. Well done, Aaron. Well done. Well worked out. This is our big announcement. So we said what we say every time when somebody goes, you'd go down a storm in my hometown, which is pay the flights and we'll be there.
Guess where we're going?
Well, she came back to us the first time ever and said, yeah, we'll pay your flights.
Yeah, that's
Come
true.
over. So,
Yeah.
you know, guess. Where do you think we're going?
Yes!
First try!
You knew!
That's a cheat. Somebody already knew. We're going to have a little fun with
That was
this.
a cheat. Oh,
Fuck's sake.
come on, God damn it.
Anyway, we're going to Canada.
Yeah. So we're going over to an IRL festival in Canada. We're going to be telling these stories over there, bringing the diaspora together, and it's all for St. Patrick's Day, and it's going to be a very interesting trip. So, if you know anyone in Toronto or Kitchener or, Turtle Island, which is
Ontario
the
is
world.
the crack.
Yeah.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
The province.
So, without further ado, I guess
if anyone on the internet knows anyone in Ontario, should give them a link.
Yeah.
Tell them.
Tonight we said we tell love stories because, I don't know why, but
it's February. It's February. You've either already gone out on a Valentine's Day date or you've already been dumped.
And as we like to tell people,
either way, you're probably sick of it.
A Candlelit Tales night is a really good night for a first date or a last date.
Yeah.
Because it can go both ways.
People have gotten together at our shows. People have had relationship-ending fights after our shows. It all comes up to the surface,
The power of mythology.
It's all very healthy, probably.
Yeah. Maybe, we're not sure.
Eventually.
So if you'd like to hear an Irish love story, but at halftime, you can let us know exactly the one you want to know, especially online. You can comment and
we'll check the old comments at halftime.
Well, Cillian will.
Cillian Daly is here as well, taking some video. And if anybody wants to say that they like our shows, Cillian will take little testimonials after, because we're doing that on the Instagram now.
Yeah, I know. Will we tell you a story now?
Should we tell them? Nah, we'll just keep shiting on all night.
Even for us, I think this is getting painfully long.
Well, listen, we had a lot to say.
Do we?
Going to Canada. We said it. Anyway, we're going to tell you
So-
the first story,
Yeah.
which is my story.
Oh, yeah.
So sit down, fuck. Seeing they're poised and ready to launch.
Having a rope today.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't tell the lads. This is Boan and Dagda. So nice floaty mystical. Yeah. They got it. It's great. We have it all down to keywords now. It was a long time ago in Ireland when the godlike people, the gods and the goddesses, the Tuatha Danann, they weren't the She yet because they didn't live under the She mounds. They lived above ground. Where we are now, they walked the same hills. Not always by the same river banks, because not all the same rivers were there. But there was a well. It was a magical well of knowledge. You've heard of the salmon of knowledge. Well, the salmon of knowledge was the salmon of knowledge because at this well there were hazel trees. And when their fruit ripened, it dropped into the well, and the salmon would swim up and eat the nuts. Because the nuts were the nuts of knowledge. That's how the salmon got the knowledge, eating the nuts in the well.
You're all laughing and you're all accounts.
He is a fierce, dirty minds, lads. We're talking about fish. Talking about fish in a well. But all right, whatever floats your boat, we're not here to kink shame. It's all right. So this salmon, that's why it was the salmon of knowledge. Got the hazelnuts of knowledge. Swam through the waters of this world and the other world. But the well was closely guarded. And it was guarded by one of the kings of the Tuatha Danann. Nua the Araglov, Nua of the Silver Arm, had been the king before of all of the Tuatha Danann, but now his responsibilities diminished to just making sure that nobody looked into this well for too long. Because wells of knowledge don't like sharing knowledge. It's all about containing it. And so if anyone looked in, disaster would follow. They weren't sure what kind of disaster, but they were sure it shouldn't happen. So this well was guarded by Nuada. And Nuada was married. He was married to one of the great goddesses of the Tuatha Danann, the goddess of the white cow. The most beautiful animal in Ireland, the white cow. Big and strong and nurturing and cuddly and a little bit gentle, but not to be pushed around too much. Her name was Boan, the white cow. Sometimes she was a white cow and sometimes she was a lady. That's how things went back then. Now, Nuada had been a good husband to Boan for a long time until he lost his arm in a battle and his arm was replaced with a silver arm. And there's something about the touch of a silver arm that isn't quite the same. It's a bit mechanical and it pinches a little bit at the joints. So a little distance had started to grow between Nuada and Boan. And she had found herself withdrawing into herself more and more as time went on. And Nuada, well, he got caught up in defeat and politics and a lot of other things that were going on in Ireland at the time, and particularly the guarding of the well of knowledge. And she just found herself getting more and more tired of him, more and more withdrawn. More and more she felt that he wasn't seeing her when he looked at her. And she took that feeling and she wove it into cloth. And she made a cloak for herself. And when she wore it, not only her husband's eyes slid over her, but so did everyone else's. It was as good as invisibility. And she could walk the landscape now without being seen, without being perceived at all. And one day she was out walking. She started to hear lovely music, like that. Just lovely music. It was made by a harp, but stringed, so we're all right. She heard this lovely music pouring out, and as she was imperceptible in her cloak, she decided to get a little bit closer, and she saw there was the harper. Grand big lad with a grand big beard, grand big lovely arms, grand big lovely belly. And he was sitting there and he was playing that harp, and he had nimble fingers is what he had. God, I love making people do a spit take on a pint. She could see him caressing those strings, and she was feeling herself getting a little bit, a little bit interested, a little bit intrigued, a little bit drawn in closer. And as she moved closer and as his fingers moved over the strings, he looked up and he gave her a little wink. She got a bit of a fright because she didn't know he could see her. But he could see her. The Dagda, the good god, he was good at everything, and he was very, very good at noticing when an attractive woman noticed him. He was a god of hospitality, of music, of food, of laughter. And he was very talented in certain regards. He had a club that was so big that 10 men couldn't lift it. Only the Dagda could lift it. And it was symbolic as well. And he was playing on his harp, his magical harp, Uachna. And with Uachna, the Dagda played the seasons in their turn. He played the sunrise and he played the sunset. And he could play any feeling into the heart of his listener. And as he looked at Boan and Boan looked at him, he started to play to her a song that seemed to him to be her. A song of a person of contradictions who wanted desperately to be seen and known, but also hid herself when that wasn't offered. A person who was lonely and longing. And when he put the harp down and stopped playing and opened his hand up to her, she took his hand and she sat down beside him, and the two of them talked. And then they ran out talking. And they spent a nice few hours together out there in the forest. And then Boan said to the Dagda, I'm gonna have to be getting going. See, my husband knew it, he's probably out hunting, but the sun is high in the sky and it's gonna start setting, in a couple of hours. He'll be back home and I need to be there so that he doesn't know anything's amiss. And the Dagda said, okay, yeah, no, you could do that. Or I could not play the song that makes the sun go down for a while. Just kind of leave it up there. This is intriguing, so she stayed. She and the Dagda stayed together. They ended up staying together for a day that lasted as long as a year. In that time, they loved, they laughed, they made love, they made a baby. She was pregnant, she swelled, she delivered the child all in one day. Nuada didn't really ever figure out what the fuck was going on. Everyone in Ireland was just exhausted, I suppose. Not really knowing. You know how it feels around midsummer where you're like, is it ever gonna fucking get dark so I can go to sleep? Oh, I suppose not. But this child that was born in a day was named Angus Og because he was always young. He was always the young son of the Dagda. And he became the god of love of the Tuatha De Danann. Birds appeared everywhere he went. And Boan gave the child to the Dagda to have him fostered and taken care of. She wasn't going to bring him back to Nuada. But as she went back home, as that long, long day came to an end, she left the Dagda with instructions to make sure that her son got her house, the Brú na Boine, and that would be his place. It wouldn't go to her husband because, fuck him. She was annoyed now. She'd had a year of having an actual proper relationship. And now she was going home to Nuda with his cold hands and his cold heart and his cold head. And actually, on the way, she got a little bit of a notion, and she thought, you know what? Genuinely fuck him. I'm going to look in his well. He says I'm not allowed to look in his well. I'm looking in the well. So she went up to the well in her cloak, and the guards that knew it had placed there, they didn't see her. They were also knackered. It had been such a long shift. She gazed into the well of knowledge, and the well of knowledge gazed back at her, and Boan knew everything that there was to know, and the well of knowledge could not abide, and so it flooded, and the floodwaters chased her. And she ran ahead of them, and she ran, wrapping the water around the brew, the place her son would inherit. And the water chased her all the way down to the sea. And some say that it drowned her, tore her to pieces, and some say she dove beneath the waves to escape it. And some say, well, she was a fucking goddess and she could shapeshift, so she's a river now. A river that still bears her name. The river of the white cow. Boan. The Boan. Aaron, we forgot to mention donations.
Oh, yeah.
We always forget to say that, but if we don't say it, nobody ever gives us any money.
It's true. We do like to actually pay the musicians that do play along with us, because it's sound to pay performers. So there's a bucket out there, and it's free to come in here. And, you know, it is free and shameful to leave. So if you want to avoid the shame, you know, throw them in the bucket.
You can leave anytime you want. And everyone will judge you. Also, we have some very fun stickers. And for the very first time we've ever printed out stickers, we've kept some of them and put them beside the donation bucket so that people other than us can have them. Because we go a little bit feral and stick them on everything.
Yeah, we do.
Well, stickers are fun. Anyway, put a donation in the bucket and take a sticker. It's an honor system.
Yeah. The average thing is for events these days is like 15, 20 quid. I don't know, whatever you want yourself, or if you can afford it, we don't know. Yeah. Do you want to hear another story about the Dagda and a lady named the Morrigan? Or do you want to hear the story about the Dagda and his love affair with the harp? That was
pretty strong.
Pretty strong. First or second ballot? I think it's second. Okay, so starting kind of battly. Yeah, starting. It's starting battly.
Really battle. It's like after the battle. Yeah. Battle for 20 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
20 seconds of battle.
This starts with the second battle of Moichura. Now, this was a battle now on the plains of a place known as Moichura, which is maybe in Mayo, where they had great big pillars of stone, and they would look down on the battle below. So the poets and bards could record all the fighting and tell the stories for generations to come, and that's how we know these stories today. But before this battle took place, they say the Dagda, the good god, he was sent to try and win favor with the Morrigan, the goddess of battle rage, the one with three faces, Bav, Maka, Morrignu. And she was the one that would fly over the battlefield, rain down fire, rain down blood, and shriek for 3 days and 3 nights to set out such a shrieking and a fear in the hearts of their enemies that they would not get a wink of sleep. And this was going against the Fuimwira. They were invading Ireland with Balor of the Evil Eye, and they would not be able to defend this land unless they had the Morrigan on side. And the Dagda wasn't sure where she would be. but they knew they would not be able to face the enemy without the Morrigan on their side. To instill battle rage, a frenzy of ferocious anger, so they could go against the enemy. They needed the Dagda to win her over. Because she was on the fence. She didn't really know which side she would lean with. Would it be the Tua Day, the goddess of Danu that had given her name to these people, the Tua, that were on the land? Or would she side with the Fui Mura, the Fomorians from under the sea and from Tori Island in the north? Well, the Dagda, he was aware that he had to woo her in some way. And yes, he had a magic harp on which he could play any music or any emotion into the hearts of his listeners. And so he would bring this, and he had a great, big and magical club. So fearsome this club was, 10 men would be knocked down with one blow. And he could bring someone back to life by knocking them on the head with the other side of his magical club.
Metaphor.
Is it?
Yeah, life-giving club.
Yeah, it's a life-giving club. There you go. So he brought his life-giving club with him, slung over his shoulder.
And he wasn't quite sure. God damn it. Let's try to treat this one seriously. It's a battle war story. Ferocious fighting.
Very serious.
It's a serious mythology. Yeah.
No humor allowed.
No. So, the Morrigan saw him coming. Okay, because he was pretty obvious. The club actually left a great track and trail in the ground.
No, it did. He was literally dragging it. It was too heavy to carry on his shoulder. It left a track. I know, but I'm just saying what they wrote down in Old Irish.
I know.
I'm just saying.
They were pissed.
I mean, a lot of these stories were written down by pubescent teenagers in, monasteries and monks. I don't know. Like, they had a lot of time to think about these things. So, regardless, the Morrigan saw the Dagda coming, and she said, no. He's one of those charmers. He's good with women. He's going to woo me. No, that. No, I'm not going to let him do anything to me. And she was standing beside a river. And so she stretched her legs good and wide from one side of the river to the other. So she would be in the middle of the river. And she saw him coming and she said, no, Dagda, you're not coming near me. No, I'm in the middle of a river. You can't get me. Okay, you can't woo me. I'm going to make my own mind up on my own. I'm an independent woman. God damn it. Don't be fucking tricking me with your wooing and your swords and your music. Music. The dog does it. I see what this is going. So he went upstream. He went upstream and away from the Morrigan. It was a fast-flowing river. And he just said, fuck it, I'll wing it. This might not work, but I'm going to hope for the best. And he jumped into the river, and he got his club, and he pointed in the right direction, and he kind of angled, and it was kind of slippery, and there was a few rocks, and he was pedaling into the middle of the river, and the current got him, and suddenly he was flowing, and he was going, and he was taking aim, and she was looking at him going, no fucking hell, that's way too big. And he got his club, aimed it, hold on, and he fucking vump. Wumpf. And they coupled.
I believe the ancient Irish wording was he pleased her.
Yeah. Not so much the first time, but the second time and third time, she was really happy. And very impressed with his stamina, so much so that she gave him a little peck in the cheek and said, yeah, I'll bless your mate, so I'll help out. I'll rain down fire and blood. And just one more time. Yeah, that's good. And so that's the story of Dagda and the Morrigan. Okay, so
What are we doing next?
we have a few more stories to basically figure out. Does anyone have any requests? Any Irish mythology? Any legends?
Those stories. Oh, we got a hand up.
Okay,
Ooh.
all right, great. Really long story.
We do a bit of it.
Really long. We did it last week for an entire show, but we can do a bit of it.
We do a bit of it. We do that. Yeah. We do that now. Did anyone else have a request before we get into Diarmuid Gorney?
But you know what? Great request.
That's a great start.
We're not going to do all of it because, again,
No.
as we said, very, very long. Some of these myths are just obnoxiously long.
No.
So we're going to truncate it. We'll tell a little bit, and then I might tell what you. Yeah, go ahead.
Listen, we'll do it, and then maybe Aaron will do a little addendum that'll give us some more context. Yeah. We'll see.
I'm as confused as you.
What kind of music is this? I think this is kind of the floaty we're at Tara Kings and Queens. Yeah?
Different floaty than the first one, though.
Yeah.
Not mystical floaty.
Not mystical floaty, royal floaty.
Royal. A few major.
Yeah. They've got us. We're good. So, long ago, there were high kings in Tara. High kings and high queens. And there was one high king whose name was Cormac MacArt. He became very famous. Very famous for a number of reasons. One of them was that he was the king who instated the system of Brehon law that's never actually been repealed on this island. System of fines, no prisons, no police, and a pretty well-functioning society.
It's pretty good.
Back in the day. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Not without its problematic elements, but it was all right. So Cormac MacArt also was famous for occasionally butting heads with another very powerful institution in the country at the time, and that was the Fianna, a band of warriors led by Fionn McCool, who lived outside, lived in the wilds and lived in the forests, and, were an army that answered to technically no one and technically everyone, and were sworn to protect Ireland from threats within and without, which was the kind of mandate that makes a king nervous, because it's a bit vague, isn't it? And it's maybe a little bit, you could twist that. Come after a king if people weren't happy with him, but people were mostly very happy with Cormac MacArt. He had several children. Carbra, his son, was the eldest, and he had a couple of daughters, but the youngest daughter, most beautiful, was called Grania. And Grania grew up in Tara, educated, taught and trained, cultivated. I almost want to say indoctrinated, but that's not the right word. Do you know what I mean? The thing where you got to walk with the book on your head. Like she was very elegant, made into the image of a princess. You don't know what that word is that I'm looking for at fucking all.
She went to circus training? That's where I've gone. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Cultured.
Thank you.
God. I'm not cultured,
Yeah,
so I
no,
wouldn't
Aaron's
know.
not cultured, so this was useless. Anyway, useless to me, Aaron. But anyway, Grania was not useless. Grania was incredibly well educated, incredibly cultured. And, as a lot of people in ancient Ireland did, had an incredibly high opinion of herself. We weren't Catholic yet in those days. We didn't know we were supposed to hate ourselves.
Shame hadn't really been fed into us,
We hadn't really gotten the good old dose of shame, so Grania just went around the place going, I think I'm fucking deadly. And everybody who met her went, well, your dad is the most powerful man in the country, so I agree. And she never really got much of a knockback. She never really got much rejection. But there was one particular day. It was kind of a pattern in Grania's life when she was a young woman. A lot of young men would try and court her, try and get her to go meet them outside the walls of Tara for a little bit of an out tryst in the bushes. She was getting to around that age where these kinds of things would be exciting. But everyone who came up to her, she'd go, nah, not good enough. She'd find a fault with everyone. See, some of them were clever, but they weren't as pretty as her. Some of them were pretty, but they weren't as clever as her. And there was always something wrong with any of these romantic prospects. And people would tell her she had too high of standards, and she would go, what the fuck does that mean? not lowering myself. Fuck that. So she kind of went on in proud isolation for a while. And then one day when she was in Tara, she was still quite young. She was about, kind of 15, 16. She saw a hurling game. It was very exciting. And there was a whole load of fine-looking young men running around on that pitch, lashing balls at each other, catching them out of the air, hitting each other with sticks, hitting sticks against each other. There was ash clashing. There was tackling happening. It was very exciting. The old blood got pumping, and there was one young man. One young man who just caught the eye and didn't let it go. He was gorgeous. He was lithe and he was handsome and he had dark hair and he was moved with this incredible grace and efficiency. He made it look easy, whatever he was doing, even if it was very complicated. And she thought to herself, that boy, that's the lad for me. That's mine. I want that one. And at a certain point, he turned around and the breeze blew his hair back off his forehead. And she just thought, oh, fuck me. Yeah, I'm having them. And she had to go and lie down for a bit, frankly. And then she came back to, got herself a little bit zhuzhed and came out to meet him. Extremely confident. Well aware that all she would need to do is walk up to him and go, it is your lucky day. But when she came back, to her dismay, he'd left. And no one could tell her his name. Because there were a lot of very nice looking young men on the hurling field that day. So she never found out what his name was. Which was a torment to Grania. Because, she'd had high standards before. But now she was measuring everyone who talked to her against the boy from the hurling field, who was extremely attractive. And somehow, the more time went by, the more attractive he became in her memory. And for a while, she thought she's never going to marry anybody except the boy from the hurling field. This was true love. This was destiny. One day, he'd walk in through the gates and she'd find out that he was, I don't know, a prince from somewhere else. It'd be great. It'd be a lovely story and it'd be fantastic, and that was how it was supposed to go. But years went by and he didn't turn up. Now, at the same time in Ireland, we did warn you this was a long story and I'm not going to do the whole thing. The same time in Ireland, the Fianna under Fion McCool had run into a little bit of difficulty. Because Fion, their captain, had recently been widowed. And Fion had many great loves through his life. We looked up a list of them, actually. There's about 17. He got around, did Fion McCool.
There was one he was really sad about, though.
There was a couple there was one got turned into a deer. There was one cheated on him.
Yeah, we didn't like her.
There was a couple who died.
You died, yeah.
There was a few divorces. Probably there was anyway, there was a couple happy, sad, it didn't last. Anyway, he had recently been widowed and he was, as they used to say back then, just fucking bringing everyone down. He was he'd gotten to that point where it was like, when people are a little bit melodramatic.
No.
And you put up with them. And then something actually sad happens to them and it's somehow worse. Because you're like, you'd have the same level of intensity if you'd stubbed your fucking toe. As your beloved is dead. And it's a lot all of the time. It's a lot.
Emotions are hard.
I'm not saying they're not.
Defending Fiona, he needs to.
Yeah. to be fair, he doesn't come off well in this story.
No, he didn't.
But we're not going to get all the way into that. No, Fiona was heartbroken. And Fiona had now passed the point at which the rest of the Fianna thought that, they needed to be sympathetic to his heartbreak, and he had gone and crossed the line into now you're just moping and it's melting everyone's head. So his son Oisin came up to him and said, look, we need to get you a new partner. We need to get you a new love. We need to get you a new relationship. because I can't handle this anymore. Not so much for you, but for the rest of us. And I have an idea. There's a woman in Tara who's, well, she's incredibly high opinion of herself, but she's very justified in it. She's very beautiful, she's very accomplished. And because there's a bit of tension between you and her dad, you two getting married might smooth things down with the king. Can I go and ask her for her hand in marriage? Fion said okay. He thought, all right, yeah. He'd heard about Grania. She was famously beautiful, and he thought, yeah, okay. Yeah, marry this girl. If she'll have me. She might not. She probably won't. Everyone hates me. I'm gonna go lie on a hillside and weep. So Oisin said, yeah, you do that. So he went off. He actually got Fion's messenger, Dagda, to carry the message because she was more trusted than he was. And she was a woman, he reckoned she'd be able to talk to Grania. So she arrived. Are you taking it up, Jar?
Yeah. So I have to end this half somehow.
I'm getting really close.
Okay, well, I tell you what. Grania had made the decision that whoever came and asked for her hand in marriage next, she would simply have to say yes to, as long as there was no problem or issues with him. And when Dagda asked for her hand in marriage to marry the leader of the Fianna, Grania asked a few people about Fion. And he was blonde, and he was strong, he was courageous, he was gorgeous, he was a leader. He had all the wisdom of the other world on the fingertip, his thumb actually. They got it wrong. And everything she heard about the man made her think she'd be a fool not to. And it would also make a peaceful coming together between her father and Fion and the Fianna, so she thought she would do this. And when she agreed, it wasn't long until the marriage was about to happen. And she had 50 women doing her hair and all of the bride's grooms there, and they were all, well, it was amazing. The whole maids, grooms and maids and grooms. There was lots of them all together in one place, and they were all doing lots of stuff. And they were decorating everything. And she asked for the names of the Fianna who were on the table as she saw many of the heroes. Quilta,
From behind the curtain.
from behind the curtain.
Must
She
be
was
said.
behind the curtain. So she was peering through behind the curtain. I was getting it.
It's important. It's important.
She asked who these heroes were, and she saw Oisin, and then she saw Quilta, the tall, thin man, and then she saw him, the boy from the hurling field. There he was with the dark hair covering over his forehead, the sad look in his eyes. They always have a fucking sad look in their eyes. And he was just looking off into the distance, all melancholic, and her heart just jumped into her throat. And then she saw standing next to him this old fella. And her servant girl said, oh yeah, that's Fion, that's the man you're going to marry. The old fella? Ah, no, she said. Fuck this anyway. I have to get out of this, she thought to herself. Well, she put a sleeping deposit into water, and she basically served it to all of the men, and making sure that Diarmuid and Oisin didn't get a drink of this draft. And so when everyone was conked out, she slipped behind the curtain. She went straight up to Oisin and Diarmuid. She said, will you run away from me? To Oisin. Oisin said, I'll run away from you. And she said to Diarmuid, will you run away with me? And Diarmuid said, absolutely not. Are you mental? And she said, I will put a gesh on you, a magical promise that you cannot break. You have to run away with me, or else doom will destroy you. And Diarmuid looked at Oisin, and Oisin said, I don't know, man, I think you should probably go, so.
Can't argue with a gesh like.
Doom sounds awful.
Yeah.
But he double guessed her.
He did. He geshed her back. He said, I will only run away with you if you come to me neither naked nor clothed, neither indoors nor outdoors, and neither on foot nor on horseback. And then he sat back thinking, whew, dodged a bullet. Dodged a very attractive bullet in a very nice dress.
Because Oisin said, Fionn McCool will never forgive you. If you run away with this woman, he's a prideful man. He will literally hunt you down for the rest of his days. And he's lived a long ass time. I don't
He's
think he's
good
gonna
at
die.
hunting.
And Diarmuid said, it's okay. I think I foxed the fox in this one. It's
Yeah.
all right. You know what? Don't worry about it. Until that night, she came to him, dressed only in a robe,
Yep, neither naked nor clothed.
on an ass,
I thought it was a goat. Anyway, it wasn't a horse, so she got around that one.
and in a doorway.
Yeah, neither indoors nor out of doors. You told you she was clever.
Diarmuid said, you sexy, clever woman, you. And with that, he ran away with Grania, and the whole rest of that epic tale is known as the pursuit of Diarmuid and Grania.
Thank you very much for that request. We're going to take a few more requests after the break. Have a think. We're going to take a little break.
Yep.
Have a piss, have a drink, have a smoke, whatever you want to do. Don't do them all at the same time.
No.
And you can walk past the bucket of shame as much as you want. Okay? Thank
Yeah.
you very much. See you in a
The
bit.
bucket of generosity. We're not at home to shame. Have you been Ireland? In Ireland lately? Have you been away? You've been around. Yeah, I know. Yeah, finally it's going. Oh, I know. Exciting. Oh, it's pretty. Yeah, it's very Yeah, that's true. right, we're back.
You.
Is everyone back?
Are you there?
Are you there?
All right. Sweet. Okay, so hope you're enjoying yourselves. Yeah, you okay? Are you enjoying stories?
There's the response. Okay, so lovely. Yeah, we had a couple of announcements at the start, and we said the things. And I had a thing that I wanted to say, and it's kind of in mind now.
Yeah. Well, we were going to do a thing where sometimes people ask us after these shows if we do like school shows.
Oh yeah, we do school shows. We do all the time.
Yeah. And sometimes people ask us if we do like workshops and how to be a storyteller and.
Oh, yeah, we do. We teach storytelling online and stuff.
Yeah.
And look, we have a whole thing there. We have a podcast. Yeah, storytelling on it. Yeah.
So sometimes people ask us if we do like private shows and parties and like office things and just like.
Yeah, we do those as well.
We do those too.
So
we
basically,
do, just so you know, just in case anybody felt like asking us afterwards, now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. And I suppose we are open for more requests, and we're also open for any videos or footage to be sent our way, because I know maybe you're a little bit sensitive or hesitant to post them. We always see phones. We never see the fucking footage. Where does it go? It disappears into the ether, beyond the veil, into the other world. It's gone forever.
Yeah.
So just send it to us.
It's called digital hoarding, and it's a problem.
Just cluttering up your old.
Tag us and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, should we do a story or should we just keep berating people?
No. All right, well, another thing, okay?
okay.
You know, not on a roll now. So.
I shouldn't have asked.
Shouldn't
I should have known better than to ask.
Yeah, the BDSM crowd are in.
Yeah. No, it's a dodgy crowd. It's always a dodgy crowd in Harbour.
No, honestly. We love coming back to the Harbour Bar. This is kind of a home from home for us. We used to come here before before lockdown. We used to come to the Harbour Bar, and then there was the whole break. We weren't really sure would he kind of do it again and how to get back into the swing of things. And we're going to try and keep it up as a monthly thing if you're interested in it. Are you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll tell the manager so that you're on.
Yeah. Do. Yeah, when we weren't coming here, I used to get people coming up to me in Bray and going, "You used to do the thing in the harbour. Will you do it again?" And I kept being, "Would you ever go to the Harbour Bar and ask them?"
Tell them that.
So anyway, should we tell people a story?
Well, we're going to give them an option.
Well, do we have any requests? Do we have anyone else who'd like to call one?
Oh, there's some sparkly eyes. The harp. You
the
want
harp.
to hear that? See, oh.
Okay, yeah, we did mention that one in the
We
first.
did mention that.
We did mention that one.
We're going to flow from. We could tell you how Diarmuid got that spot in his head. Remember that love spot?
Why Diarmuid's forehead was the most attractive part of him. It's true.
It's very true. There's a whole story about how he got that spot in his head that Grania went absolutely wild over. I can tell you that story. The
Selkie.
Ooh. Selkie story. All right. Okay.
Okay. So we got the harp. We got the. We got the Selkie. We got. Are people going for the love spot, or is that just Aaron?
Nah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got a solid nah from Sive there, so that's a nay. It's enough to put me off it. Okay.
All right. Seemed unenthusiastic.
Very enthusiastic.
Yeah, we've got. Okay, what do you want to do?
What do you want us to do? Okay, let's hear it for the harp.
Let's hear it for. What was it?
The Selkie.
Right. Have you a Selkie? Have you a Selkie, Aaron?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I do. You're a good man for the Selkie. All right, take it away. I'm going to sit down and finish my pint. Enough heckle.
So, I'll tell you, there's a lot of Selkie stories, and this particular one takes place in Gallerus, and it's the story of the Lady of Gallerus. Now, this is on the Dingle Peninsula in the southwest coast of Ireland, one of the most magical peninsulas in this land for those of you who have any knowledge of the land or the place. And, well, there was a man named Dick Fitzgerald, and he had a funny first name. You can all laugh at it. It's okay. His name is Dick. Do you want to get it out of your system now?
Very
You might as-
serious story.
You might as well call him Penis. It's fine. There you go. That's the laugh. That's the real laugh you want.
And he was a fisherman, and he was in this town of Gallerus, and he had a small little house built for himself by his own hands, and he had a small little boat built for himself with his own hands, and he'd fish for himself every day, and he'd come back in and he'd be on his own. And gradually he thought he'd find some lady in the town who might look his way. He might marry someone. He thought he would. And as the years went by, he didn't. And no one really looked his way. And he didn't really know why. He wasn't very good at talking. Maybe it was because his name was Dick. I don't know. Either way, he wasn't really very much charismatic or very outward. And they didn't have Tinder back then, so he was all alone, was Dick Fitzgerald, until one moonlit night he found himself walking along the coast where he often would walk, with Mount Brandon there up in the sky, looking down, casting a great shadow on the coast. And he heard some faint mystical music washing over the waves. And he heard some singing and a pitter-patter of feet dancing and jumping and leaping around. And as he turned the corner, as the big rocks around the bottom of Brandon, he saw 3 beautiful women dancing. And each of them had long green hair, and they were so pale and so beautiful, his heart went into his throat almost. And as the moonlight was shining off of their green hair, he thought of lovely butter melting on cabbage.
That's a line that I took out of the translation. That's not me, but that's what his mind went to. I don't know. He was just, it did it for him, you know. He was thinking, fucking tasty. It's just how I like my cabbage. Now, he saw one of the women stop their dancing and go and pick up a cloak and wrap it around her. And in that moment, she stepped into the water. She transformed, shape-shifted, and became a seal and swam away. Now, he saw 2 cloaks were left. 2 selkie cloaks. He realized these were women of the sea that could transform themselves any moment, any time, take off their skin, leave it behind, and be a woman on this land. And so he saw a chance, a moment as they danced amongst themselves, and well, he grabbed the cloak of the woman that he thought was the nicest, and he hid it behind the nearest rock as he cowered and looked and glanced above. And he then saw the second woman go and catch her cloak, wrap it around her shoulders, transform, shift and change her shape and jump into the water in that seal shape and swim under the waves that were crashing on the coast and on the shore. And then he looked at that last woman that was left there as she seemed to dance and skip and look around with a beaming smile on her face until she turned around and she couldn't find her silky cloak. And she looked up and she looked down and her eyes furrowed, and suddenly she realized that she couldn't find her cloak. Now, it wasn't too long after that that he stepped out from the shadows and he decided to introduce himself nice and clearly in a kind of a Kerry sort of a way. How are you? You look lost. You all right? Or something, I'm not sure. Like I said, he wasn't very good with words, okay? It was, you look lost. Are you lost? And anyway, he had the silky cloak hidden away, and when she saw him, she was very scared.
And she thought he might kill him, but he said, no, Jez, I won't touch you. Calm down. Are you a fish? He said. And she said, no, I'm not a fish. I'm a woman. He said, oh, great. I was looking for one of them. And she said, you're not going to kill me? No, Jez, I only kill fish. She was even more terrible. No, he said, no, not you kind of fish, like the real other fish. Anyway, never mind, drop some tea, come back to mine. And, well, she said, all right. And she was intrigued, she was curious. She had never gone into the homes of these human beings, these land crawlers, these strange beings that she was told by her father, the king undersea, to never go near because they would certainly hang her up in a net. But this man seemed to be kind, seemed to be giving, seemed to be nice. And this man offered her a drink and then some food and then some clothes. Did I mention she didn't have clothes?
No.
Part of the reason he was very fond of her. And very bouncy. And, well, it wasn't long after till, well, Dick just popped the question. He said, would you like to get married? She thought that was a bit fast, bit quick. But she said she might think about it. He was looking for a wife, he said. Someone to settle down with. And you know, if she's nowhere else to go, well, she looked around and being so terrified being found on this land without anywhere to go, she said she might have to give it a go. But she stayed with Dick Fitzgerald in his home, and well, a likeness and then a longing and then a love blossomed and bloomed between them because, well, she was everything he had ever dreamt of in a woman. Green hair was kind of an odd one, but you know, he went there. And she was satisfied with this man that made massive fuss over her and gave her everything he could possibly do, gave her everything she could possibly need. And so it wasn't long after that they decided to go to the nearby priest. At this stage, she had told him all of the stories of Under the Sea, her father of King Undersea, how the water was the sky, how they lived in great castles and homes that were made out of shells and rocks that were in under the ground and the sea up above. And these stories fascinated Dick Fitzgerald, but he said we'd better go and, you know, properly get married now because we'd like to do the deed, like. This was Catholic Ireland, so there was a lot of shame. Lots of shame. And so they went to the local priest, and he introduced this lady. He said, this is the Lady of Gallerus, we'll call her. And the priest pulled him aside and said, Dick, you can't marry a fish. You can't be going to marry a fish. Look at her, she's a fish. He said, no, Jez, no, she's not, no. She was a fish, a bit of a fish, but she's not anymore, like. No, I've sorted that out. I've hidden that skein away up in the top rafters of the house, like. She'll never find it, don't worry. Oh. And he said, right, but you still can't marry a fish, Dick. He said, well, did I mention that her father is the king of the sea and will give a great big bride price and he might even fix the roof on the church? The priest said, well, it's love after all, isn't it wonderful? How wonderful it is to unite any two souls of God's creatures on this beautiful world. Oh, I heaven bless it and all the rest of it. And
Very familiar with the sacraments.
all of the sacraments, all the blessings and Mary and Saints and Josephs, all of them all in the one place at the same time. Name your man, myself and the cousins and the sisters and the brothers. And so they got married. And you know what? She was absolutely delighted with Dick Fitzgerald and her home there on the Dingle Peninsula. And she became known as the Lady of Gallerus there with the green hair. And she'd walk up and down. And, well, it wasn't long until they had not one, not two, but 3 children, they say. All quite young, running around. They didn't have the green hair, they had brown. But they managed fairly well. And at this stage, Dick Fitzgerald was taking on some more entrepreneurial tasks. He was setting up a fishery, and he was going into Tralee and selling lots of fish. And he's thinking about canning them. Oh, it was a big thing back then. And technology of canning fish, they last forever, they say. And so he went off to town, and it was in around the time when they were making the crosses for Bridget, and they were welcoming in spring, and they were beginning to tidy away the dust of the dark days, the 3 months of the season that made you feel cold and wet to your bones. And well, Dick Fitzgerald had gone off and left his wife, Lady Gallerus, with the 3 children there in their home, and she was doing a great big cleanup, and she was getting the kids to help her, or at least not make it worse. They were kind of making it worse, but she was all right. She was very patient. And well, one thing led to another, and she decided to put some of the things up into the high rafts of the house. She'd never been up there before, and what did she see but landing there on the floor? That old familiar thing she hadn't seen for so long. A memory of so long ago, her silky cloak. The touch, the feel, the sense of water came back to her, the memories of her father and the silky people below the sea. And suddenly she walked out the door, a glazed look in her eyes, and her daughter called to her, "Mammy, where are you going?" She said, "I'll be back, don't you worry." And she walked out to the sea, wrapping that cloak around her shoulders. And when her daughter told Dick Fitzgerald what had happened, she said that Mammy said she'd come back, you see. She walked out and she changed. And she began to swim in a strange sort of a way. And every day from that moment onwards, Dick Fitzgerald went back to the coast and always watched and always waited. But he never did see the Lady Gallerus coming back to him from the sea.
Ah, a sad story. How
That is a bit of a
unusual.
sad story.
So, next story, I'm going to give you an option. You can have a Fionn McCool love story or a Fionn McCool's son love story.
Dear.
Yeah. All right.
Sive, if you want to leave now.
Yeah. Do we need to vote that one, or that was very clear, wasn't it? Yeah. All right, cool. Misery. Oh, lads, it's misery we're for. So, we start out in a good place. We start out high spirits hunting through the forests, because we start out with the Fianna. And the Fianna were on a hunt one day. Now, a hunt for the Fianna was kind of a regular occurrence. They lived outdoors from Bealtaine to Samhain, and they hunted and they lived off the land. And in those days, Ireland was covered north, south, east and west with forests. And when they chased deer through the forest, they did so on foot with the hounds of the Fianna, these wonderful hunting dogs. And Fionn McCool was always at the head of the pack. Now, this was Fionn long before Diarmuid O'Divna was even born, long before Grania saw him at a feast and said, "Ugh, he's a bit old." This was Fionn in his prime, with his beautiful, lustrous golden hair that went down to the midpoint of his back. This was Fionn rippling with muscle. This was Fionn who had taken leadership of the Fianna and said, "Lads, we don't know enough poetry. We're going to get in touch with our feelings. We're going to have a cry about it. And no one's going to get into the Fianna unless they can say a poem so nice it makes us all weep." And he led the Fianna from strength to strength, and on this day he was leading them, heart high, running through the forest. They hadn't even caught wind of a deer yet. They were just warming up, just running for the joy of running, the strength of limb, and the strength that was flowing through them, limb to limb and foot to foot and heart to heart. And then there was a cry, and a deer was started up, and the Fianna, they turned, and they twisted. It was like if you'd looked down from above a murmuration of swallows, the way they moved together, making shapes through the forest. Men and women and dogs running through. And they were pursuing one deer. It was a small deer. Small and incredibly agile. And this deer started to double back, started to twist, started to lose them, fool them. And little by little, in dribs and in drabs, the Fianna peeled off, defeated, exhausted, needing a breather. Until at last only Fionn McCool and his two hounds, Bran and Skiolan, were left. And they kept pace with this deer. And then Fionn noticed something strange. His dogs were able to catch up to the deer, but they weren't snapping at the fawn. They weren't growling. They were playing. Their mouths open wide in a grin that hounds give. Their tongues lolling out friendly. And one of them jumped over the fawn and she ran under the legs of the other, and Fionn realized they were only playing. So he kept pace, but he didn't draw his spear. He didn't try and end the hunt. He just waited to see what they would do. His hounds with their great wisdom. And he saw when they turned and they started to head back to Almuin. No longer in that fierce flight, but nice and easy, a steady jog. They went back to Fionn's house. And as they came close to where the rest of the Fianna had already gone back, well, the hunting packs of the Fianna saw a deer coming, and some of them started up and growled, but Bran and Skiolan put themselves one on either side of the deer and snarled down any dog that tried to go for her. Fionn was intrigued. So he saw the dogs usher this deer into the great hall at Almuin. And there in front of the fire, the deer lay down. And Bran lay on one side and Skiolan on the other side. And the deer curled up into a little deer ball. Lovely and neat. I went to sleep. And Bran and Skiolan stood guard over the sleeping deer. And Fionn thought, there's something going on. And sure enough, that night, as Fionn was asleep in his own bedchamber, the door opened and a beautiful woman came in. She was one of the Tuatha Dé Danann. She was tall, she was long-limbed, she was lovely, and she had the dark liquid eye of a deer. And she said, I'm Sive, and Fionn said, yep. There you are. As established in the Selkie story, clothes don't survive animal transformation. But the dogs were still keeping close guard. There was one on either side just to make sure Fionn kept manners on him. But he did. He was a very mannerly man. He said, I'm Fionn McCool, and she said, I know who you are, I've heard of you. He said, he kind of relaxed at that a little bit. He said, oh, okay. Yeah. Good things, I hope. She said, yeah, no, I've heard of you. I wanted to meet you, but there was a druid in the other world, Ferdarach, and he decided that he was in love with me, but it wasn't the kind of love that I wanted. And when I rejected him, he turned me into a deer. So I've been fleeing from him ever since. And I haven't had a moment's rest until now. And it's only in your house that I've been able to get back to myself. So if it's all the same to you, I'd like to stay. And Fion said, "Yep." Please put some clothes on, it's distracting. Trying to be respectful, but it's very hard. So she stayed. She stayed in his household. She stayed in his house, and Fion was very taken with Sive, but he also, he wanted to be respectful. She'd been through a lot. He didn't want to come on too strong. He didn't want to freak her out. He didn't want to make her feel like he was going to turn her into a deer if she rejected him. So he went very, 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 very slowly, sitting by the fire with Sive and talking to her and listening to her and talking long into the night, and he found the mind as wonderful as the form and the face and the hands and all the other bits. And he found himself falling in love with her. He really didn't want to make a move until the night when Sive said, Fion, I realise that I'm staying here as your guest and I don't want to impose, but I found these last few weeks I've been falling in love with you. And Fion said, oh, that's okay. I don't mind. That's actually really good news. And shortly after that, they decided to marry. And Fion didn't want to go hunting with the Fianna anymore. He didn't want to run through the forest. It was way more exciting to stay in bed with Sive. And he didn't want to fight battles, and he didn't want to fight against the fire and by Sive. So he stayed in more and more. And the rest of the Fianna, well, they grew a bit jealous. They began to mutter. They missed their captain who used to lead them on all these great adventures. But he was utterly in love and did not want to leave her side, not even for a moment. But the Fianna were sworn to protect Ireland from threats from within and threats from without, and a threat from without came one day, as inevitably it would. An army was sighted off the coast, and Fion was summoned. He had to lead the Fianna into battle. And so he bid Sive farewell. And with Bran and Scath he went off. He promised he'd return as soon as he could. And Sive said that she wasn't going to leave his house. She was not going to set foot outside the gates until he returned. Because she did not know if this druid was still out there, still looking for her. And Fion went. And a great battle was fought. And the invaders were turned back. And at long last, it was time for him to go back home, and he was eager, running back across the land. There was a strange darkness in his heart, a worry twisting at him that he was too late. And so he ran ahead of the rest of the Fianna, and he came bursting into his hall at Almuin. None of his servants there, none of the people who worked for him, none of the staff, none of them would meet his eye. And there was no sign of Sive anywhere. And he looked at them and he asked them, he said, "Where is she?" None of them wanted to answer him. Until finally, one of his servants said, "We thought that we saw you coming, not 3 days ago. A man who looked like you from a distance. A man with a hound on either side that looked just like Bran and Scath, coming towards the gates of Almuin. And your lady Sive ran out, eager to meet you and eager to greet you and eager to tell you the news that she'd been waiting to tell you. She's carrying your child. But as soon as she crossed the gates at Almoon, she turned around as if to run away. She gave a cry of fear, and those hounds sprang at her and bore her to the ground. And that man who didn't look like you anymore struck her with a hazel rod, and she turned into a deer. And we tried to help. We ran out to her, but a mist came down so dense and thick we could not see a thing. And we heard the snarling, and we heard the deer cry, and we heard the voice, but they all seemed to be coming from different directions, and we lost her in the mist. Now Fion found he could not blame them. There was no one to be blamed for this but Ferdarach, the druid, who'd come and taken Sive away. But his heart was broken. And it took a long time before Fionn McCool was hunting again. When the next spring came, he began to come back to himself. But every time he went out hunting, every time the Fianna ran through the forest, he was looking. He was looking for the deer. He was looking for Sive. And years went by without him catching a sight of her. Till one day, on a hunt, Bran and Skjolon perked up their ears and went off in a different direction. And Fionn, thinking they might be leading him back to her, he followed them. And he found not a deer, but a boy. A little boy with golden hair and dark liquid eyes like a deer, playing alone on the hillside. And the hounds ran up to the child as if they'd known him. His whole life they licked his face. The child giggled and gasped. And Fionn caught him up and picked him up and brought him home. Brought him back to Almoon, had him raised as his own. And when that child was old enough to tell his story, he told Fionn how he'd grown up in a narrow valley. And the only other creature that lived in that valley was his mother. And his mother was a deer. And every so often a man would come and he would try and talk to the deer, and the deer would always turn away from the man. Sometimes the man would speak gently and sometimes he would speak angrily, but no matter what he said, the deer would not look at him. The deer always avoided him, waited until he was gone. And then one day the man came and he didn't leave. He spoke coaxingly for a long time. And then he began to grow angry and his words sharper, until he spoke angrily to the deer, and then he shouted at the deer, and the deer would not look at him, not once. And finally that man, he put a leash on the deer and he opened the cliffs of that narrow valley and he dragged the deer through, and the boy did not know what happened. He tried to run after her, but something went wrong. He fell, and when he woke, he was alone, and she was gone. And Fionn knew that this boy was his son, and Sives, this only confirmed it. He named the boy Oisin, which means little deer. And Oisin was his pride and joy, growing up to be a warrior of the Fianna, a warrior and a poet. But every hunt he ever went on, Fionn kept his eye out for a deer that was too swift and too clever. But he never saw Sive again.
So nice and cheery, isn't it?
So cheerful.
And we have a save in the room. Woo!
No, I just had to mortify her there. Thanks. You can thank me later. It is a particular treat. It is a particular treat to come back here and.
Have we time for one more?
I don't know. They seem to be talking.
They
so-
seem to be chatting. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess they're done.
Are we done?
Are we done?
Have we time for one more?
Well, it's a joy to be able to play, music with these guys and tell stories to you guys. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And if we don't want the night to end, Roche might even sing a few songs afterwards. If you ask him nicely.
That might answer it there for you.
Yeah.
Thank you for offering. And I guess, for me offering your services, I guess. Thanks.
Yeah, nice volunteering, Aaron.
I know, we discussed.
Okay, so we are coming towards the end, and there is literally one happy Irish love story. Kind of, maybe, a little bit. We could tell you that one, or we could tell you the Oisin story.
Okay, let's just hear it for happy, sad. We gotta observe the formalities, lads. We set up this system right here and now, so gotta honor it. So we're going sad.
Don't worry, we have a podcast, and it's called Angus Og and the Dream of Angus Og. It is kind of a happy story.
Look, if you tell any story long enough, it all ends in death anyway. So
Yeah. Everybody dies in the end. Yeah, it's fine.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert: everyone dies in the end. Spoiler for all of human history and fiction.
It's terrible giving spoilers for these ancient stories that have been in the land for.
wait a minute.
3,000-year-old spoiler alert.
No, it's a joy to bring them off the page, because if you go reading them, and people ask us oftentimes for books to read, and we can tell you, but they're just not the same, because they're supposed to be told, they're supposed to be spoken, and you're supposed to tell them too. Okay, so you tell them to each other. Go off and light a fire, light candles, and tell stories. That's what we're kind of designed for, because there's lots of fun in these stories. And yeah. All right. Okay. So are you sure you want to hear Oisin? Nah, not really. All right, so Fado. Yeah. Well, this starts with Fion McCool taking the band of his most trusted friends off for a hunt. Fion would live on the hill of Allen overlooking the Curragh, the flatlands. They've put horse tracks there now, but the Fianna would famously train there, and it was a test to get into the Fianna, but always you had to pass the most noble of tests, as long as you had strength in your limb, purity of heart, and actions to match your words. Fion would consider you to be one of the Fianna. There were a rigorous number of tests as well, but it was more important for him to have the heart of one outside of society, outside of owning things and trading things and seeing the beauty in the wild, wind-swept landscape of this country and the sad, morose, melancholic, fucking desolate places. That's where you really see the Fianna. And so he turned to his friends. Quilta was there, the thin grey man. Diarmuid who was not allowed to show his love spot because he had to grow his hair over it because people kept on falling in love with
They
him.
don't get to hear about the love spot. They voted against it.
Oh yeah. Forgot.
It's on our podcast.
Anyway.
Plug. And of course, his son Oisin was there, and he asked them, as I'll ask you now, what is the greatest sound?
And Quilta thought for a moment. He said, well, that's easy. It's the effortless fingers of our musicians, trained hands running up and down of a musical instrument they've practiced for years on. This is the greatest sound of ever to pour one's heart into their instrument. And Fion said, it's good, it's good. What's the best sound? And Diarmuid thought, it's the sound of the breath of your lover on your neck when they're sleeping. Diarmuid said, Fion said, oh, that's a good one, yeah, that's a good one. Makes me think of Sive though, so shut the fuck up. And Oisin thought, it's the sound of hearty laughter. That's the greatest sound, really, isn't it? Fion said, that's pretty good too. That's pretty good. And he sucked his thumb and said, you know, the greatest sound is the sound of what's happening right now. Fuck's sake. They all rolled their eyes and said, all right, come on, Fion, let's go. And so they leapt into the forest, and there was great ancient oak trees, and they were waiting to see which way they would go. And they didn't ride on horseback, they ran with Bran and Skiolan, the two wolf hounds of Fionn McCool, running fleet-footed through the forest, not disturbing the twigs on the forest floor or the birds in the trees, angling each way so brilliantly between the ways they would go until they would find that doe or the deer, until they arrived in a clearing. And the sun was shining brightly through, and there they saw a beautiful blonde-haired woman on top of a white horse. And she was walking this horse in a gentle circle around and around and around, and they all stopped and they came, and Diarmuid kind of stumbled in. Huh? Shh, what the fuck's going on there? I don't know. What are you looking at? I'm not sure. She's standing there. This is very eerie. Is it the other world? It probably is, yeah. Okay, it's strange. And then she saw all of them looking at her, and she smiled. And she looked at Oisin directly, and she said, there you are. I have loved you from afar, she said. Come away with me to Tirnanog, so we can live eternally together forever. And there is no sickness, there is no sadness in Tirnanog. No one ever grows, and in love that will bind us for eternity. And Oisin said, yeah, that sounds great. Fucking absolutely. When Fion landed his hand on his son and said, whoa. This is a woman of the Fae. This is clearly a goddess, or one of the two a day. And if you go away with her today, you may never be able to return. So please don't go. Or if you do, promise me you'll come back to Ireland. Promise me you'll find us again. Promise me this, and then you may go. And Oisin looked at his father, who he knew more than him, and he said, well, of course I will. I'll come back to this land. I'll never leave the Fianna. But I have to go on this adventure. I have to take this opportunity. I can't say no to this woman. And so he jumped up on top of the back of the horse, and he held on tight to Niamh Kinor, that was her name, Niamh of the long flowing hair, and she held on to his hands, and suddenly their heart began to beat in the same way as the horse ran off that day, away from the Fianna, through the forest, jumping over the streams, blurring past mountains until they came to the sea. But that horse didn't slow down. It galloped so fast and so effortlessly. It jumped as the waves crashed. It jumped over the waves and landed on the water, and still ran over that water as if it was a field of barley, and it still kept running and going, its foot falling onto the waves that were crashing around its hooves. And Oisin was amazed to see the water underneath and the sky above, and suddenly there was some form of mist that descended, and And as they looked around, it was a different landscape all around them. There was 3 times 50 islands of the other world. As they ran straight into the sun, that pathway made of honey that they were running on, bringing them straight into the veil between worlds. And they were there now, with mystical shape-shifters on islands, monsters shape-shifting and twisting around crystal bridges and apples of gold on trees. And then they saw an island that Niamh said was Tirnanog. And when they dismounted and landed on Tirnanog, she was given a great welcome. And Oisin was welcomed in, a great feast was had, music and songs and plenty. And he was given the greatest robes, the nicest meats and the most beautiful drinks. And everyone he saw was smiling and so cheerful, and he saw no sickness or sadness. And whenever he wondered what was happening over on some part of the island, Niamh would show him many games they would play, so many games. Fitchel and chess live, huge games of fully formed men playing chess, and games of hurling and football. More hurling than football, because it's a better game.
Yeah.
And then he saw amazing sights. They wove great wings into the
roofs of houses, and there was oak trees that were cut down and burned whole, and it was all lush and beautiful and rich. And after a while, Oisin turned around to Niamh and he said, "Jesus, I better go and visit home." And she said, no. There's a new wonder for you to see. Come here. Have you seen the fountain with the 5 streams of all the different tribes of human beings, and the salmon, the fish that swims between all of them? Because they all come from the same source and they all come back to the same place afterwards. He said no, and she said, "I'll show it to you." So they went off and they looked at that. And that took a day, that took ages, that took a while. It was a whole hike up of a crystal mountain made of diamonds, and it was beautiful and intense, and just this refracted rainbow that scalded the eye, and it was gorgeous. And then one day Oisin looked around and he said, "Hang on, we've got 3 children. How did that happen? They're teenagers. Has it been 3 years?" And Niamh said, "What is time?" It's a very abstract concept here where no one ages. So let's just go and have a hunt. We're going to hunt the revolving beast. It's the one that can turn itself around inside of its own skin. It's delicious. It's very crispy. But we have to catch it first. It's very hard. And so they went on this hunt, and it took them, honestly, who can say how long it took them? Because they had to ride on magical horses over the waves and chase it through all of the different islands. And there was a time there was blacksmiths showed up and started throwing coals at them, and it was a lot. But it was great fun. And finally they came back, and Oisin said, "Hang on. It's got to be time for me to go home. It has to be time for me to go home and visit my dad. I promised I would." And Niamh said, "All right. I don't think you should go home." And Oisin said, "No, I got it. I have to go home. I miss all my friends. I miss Diarmuid. I miss Creelcha. I miss Fion. I even miss the Morna brothers and their bollockses. But nobody here is a bollocks, and nobody, everything is very lush and everything is very beautiful and everything is very sensory, but no one even so much as sprains an ankle. After a while, it's starting to feel like there's no reality to anything. I can't remember the last time I got a splinter. I can't remember the last time I was even a little bit uncomfortable. It's starting to feel a little deadened. It's starting to feel a little like I'm living in a reality that isn't really touching me. I think I need to go and touch grass in Ireland." And Niamh said, "Well, I really wish you wouldn't. Because about that, I've been dismissive about time as a concept, as an immortal being. And you are too, as long as you stay here. But Ireland to our people is known as the land of death, because for some reason people there have decided to grow old and die. And I've never understood it. But if you go back now, you will find that more time has passed than either of us meant to. But Oisin was determined. He said, I'm not going to break my gesh. I'm going to go and find my father. I'm going to go and find the Fianna. And so she lent him her white horse. And he rode the horse over the waves. It ran over the waves as easily as it would run through a field of barley. And he came back to the shore of this island, and it took a minute for him to realize that this really was Ireland. Those great oak forests were gone. They were cut down. It was an island of fields and stony walls, and the people were shocking. Tiny, grey people. There were no great heroes of old. All these people that he had been used to seeing. They just looked normal.
And then he saw 3 lads really struggling on a road they were building. And he heard tolling of bells, and he didn't like the sound of it. And he saw this road ripping through the landscape, and these men trying to push and heave and shove this rock that was maybe a boulder, but it wasn't much. And so he leant down off the horse, and he lifted it one-handed and tossed it away. And he asked them, where are the Fianna? But as he did, he fell. The strap on the horse broke. And as he fell, he landed on the land of Ireland, and then 1,000 years of aging landed on him. And some say he died in that instant. He turned to ash. But some say he withered and he became so old that he was still alive, and he was still strong and still bigger than most. And they brought this old, weak and grey-haired, wizened man that was once a strong, fearsome warrior to St. Patrick. And there, he was put to work for a while, apparently.
Yeah.
For bed and board. And there's a whole story of how St. Patrick and Oisin became friends, and how Oisin proved to him that the Fianna were real, and they wrote all the stories down. And that's how we know these stories are true, because a saint wouldn't fucking lie to you. Obviously.
Solid evidence, lads.
But on his deathbed, when he was close to death, and after he told all of the stories, the Fianna, to St. Patrick, who wouldn't fucking lie, he was close to death and he knew he was, and St. Patrick said,
There's one last bid to try and convert him.
Yeah.
Say, would you not just let me baptize you and then you get into heaven? And Oisin said, is me dad in heaven? And Patrick said, well, your father was a pagan, so unfortunately, no, he's going to be, sadly, burning in hell for all eternity.
What about dogs?
No. Even though Bran and Scath were technically your father's cousins, which is a whole other story. They animals don't get into heaven.
You say that?
No, dogs don't go to heaven. It's church doctrine. I didn't make it up.
So hang on, what do you do in this heaven again?
It's wonderful. You're in a sort of a cloud paradise where nothing will ever hurt you or be even a little bit uncomfortable ever. And there's music, and you get to bask in the glory of God and sort of sing praises for all eternity.
Yeah, I've
Singing.
been to Tiernanog, and that sounds like way more crack. And anyway, it's kind of shit unless you know how to cry. You know, a little bit of sadness is always good. And besides,
Oh, but
if my father
you don't understand. You're going to go to hell where demons will torment a lake of fire for all eternity. You can't like the sound of that, Oisin.
Demons, hellfire, fighting, rivalry. Fucking
if there's demons down in this hell that you talk about, and the Fianna are there, and my son Oscar and my father Fion McCool, they're the ones that are torturing those demons, and they're defeating them, and they're causing great battles to be had, and there are great stories to be had with the demons in hellfire. So I'll chance my luck downstairs. Thank you very much, because I'd prefer to be with my friends in hell rather than some fucking holy place up there. Oh! And with that, he closed his eyes and he wished one last time he could have said goodbye to Niamh Kinó out in Diarmuid.
You.
Give us a round of applause. That's my sister Sarah Gaff.
That's my brother Aaron.
We got Rue O'Shea, Alan Holman, and Colin Farrell on music. Thank you so much, guys.
Woo!
You've been an amazing audience. We'll be back next month, probably, after we get to Canada.
Maybe we might skip a month because we'll be in Canada for a lot of it.
We'll probably come
But
back.
we'll be back soon.
Nah, we'll probably come back, because we love coming back to the Harbour Bar, and you're an amazing audience, and it's just great crack here. We love it. Thank you so much. And if you have any money, you can drop in the bucket, and we'll try and pay these guys. And, thank you so much.
And have a sticker.
And, yeah, chill out, enjoy yourselves. And if you'd like footage, footage. If you take any footage, tag us. That'd be great.
Yeah.
For the followers. Or
If you want to say anything about how much you liked it, go over and talk to Killian and tell him.
That's Killian.
He's waving.
He's waving.
He's waving.
We're
You
gonna
can
do
say a
some
little thing.
Vox pops of it. Did you enjoy the show? Yeah, it was all right.
Would you recommend people in Canada book these guys
That
so
type
that
of
they
thing.
don't lose money on their tour?
We're going to lose money. So, help us not lose money, guys.
No, we're not. Hey!
And Shay on the sound. Good man, Shay on the sound. You're a sound lad.
Soundman Shay. Hey.
Wrap up. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to take a little break, and then maybe, Rue, if you're asked nicely, we'll play a few tunes.
You!